Okay, where did I put? Here we go. Okay. Let me share my screen. So, before starting a recap of what we did last time. So last time we have this introduction a little bit with the architecture, how Key4 works. So the Key4 part, SQL. Then we moved to the SQL database where we created buffer tables and the views. Just to recap, we remember that the buffer tables are the tables with primary keys that we refer as dimensions, another field that we refer as measures, while the Key4V is the enriched view that refers to a buffer table and adds all the attributes to filter and so on. Then we saw how to connect to SQL. So we went into Key4. We managed to create some connections into SQL, update the cache to see the data model in Key4, and we started by creating our models. The first one we created is a master table. So we saw data row in a table without the spreadsheet on top. So that was the way to see the raw data, master table. Then we created a spreadsheet with static rows and columns. We created a dynamic spreadsheet right after, so generating rows and columns from a view. Then we started to add measures and attributes to our views to do extra filters, extra dynamic rows. We configured the aggregated data entry by defining some hierarchies with the Key4H views, and we stopped here. So this is what we had last time. Today, we will see the context. That is the way we use to filter data and put some parameters here and there. So we will see some parameters that we can use either in the spreadsheet or in the configuration. And we will see how to read the filter parameter from a cache. Then we will see the launchpad, that is how we trigger a SQL Server store procedure from Key4, passing also some parameters. Then we will give a quick view to the visual properties and to the drill. So visual properties are all the properties that are applied in play mode and not in edit mode, where you see the scroll bars like colors, how to hide and show those dynamically, etc. At that point, we will move to Power BI to embed a report in Power BI. Okay, so we need to restart from section number 4. Before doing this, do you have any question from last time on the first part? Okay. Doesn't look like. So let's move to chapter 4. Attributes, aggregated data entry, context. So context. As I was saying, the context is a list of parameters and variables that can be used for several purposes. The main ones is filtering data. So if we have a context variable with the same name of a column, like month, year, customer, whatever, it will be used automatically to filter data. If we have a context variable that has a name that is not in any of the columns of the tables used in the model, then it will be used as a parameter. The context values of these variables can be retrieved in the spreadsheet using this formula named Key4Value. Context values can be used in configuration also. So you can use them in the spreadsheet or in configuration, for example, to select the data set or whatever, using this syntax that we'll see later on. So we put the parameter name inside angular parentheses, and this will use the context value as a filter. Context values can be hard-coded in the spreadsheet or can be taken from cached tables. So, do you still have your environments in which we worked last time? So we told the context. So if somebody wants to share from the environment, we will set a filter from the context, or I can share and drive this.
I can share if you want to.
Okay, thank you, Maurice.
This will take longer than if you do it, but I think it's good for me.
It's good for everybody because sometimes I'm too fast in this thing. So first of all, open your first dynamic model. So last time you created my first dynamic model. Okay, cool. Yes, it's waking up probably the SQL.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't have dynamic rows anymore. What happened to this model? Did you delete something on the? It's
I'm
like
not sure. Maybe
I tell you
didn't.
that no, the connection to SQL is not working. I tell you. Click on information. Look, it's crashing. So refresh the page. This means that the connection is not working. Try to go into connections and see if the test connection is still working. If this is an Azure SQL, it might be an IP problem. You can test with the button on top.
Oh, there.
It's successful. Go back in database.
On database, yeah.
Open it. Try to do a sync. No, this is working correctly. So go back in models, open it. Let's see what is there is a query that is not working. Basically, that is what's going on. So go in edit mode. Go into in visual properties.
Where can I find this? Here?
No. Now under edit, visual properties.
Yeah.
Okay. K for VF sales and my product code. Okay. Try to delete that.
Sorry, delete what?
Try to delete dynamic row fields.
Yep.
We'll set it back later on. Okay, save. Taking quite some time for such a small change. This might be a problem.
Did anyone else try? Is yours working faster than mine?
No. There's something with the environment that is not going so good. Can you try to refresh the page, Moritz? Let's see what happens. It's like the application is stuck.
Huh.
No,
It's different now.
No, it's the same as before. You're just in edit mode.
Okay.
So it's not reading the rows from the dynamic rows, but it's reading from the example that you provided. So it's not big deal. So go back in edit visual properties. Or let's do this, create a new model. We will create the same model again, and let's see what happens, because I'm not understanding where the problem is. So click on the models and create a new one.
Or here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Spreadsheet. Okay, give it a name.
My second dynamic table, I guess.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Either that or data is not.
I mean, the connection to the database seems to work on.
No, seems to work. So
yeah.
Okay, you created. So we could have used the template from before. So go edit visual properties. Yes. So we save some time.
Mm-hmm.
In template, select my first dynamic, whatever. Template is the first field of
there.
settings. Okay, no, the one above.
Yeah. Okay.
My first, that one. Model, okay. Yeah. Now, in SQL datasets, let me remember what should be there. If you navigate with the edit menu to SQL datasets, you can choose the table F sales. Okay, and as dimensions, we can put my first dynamic spreadsheet. I need to remember the dimension. It should be it was year, product, and month, if I'm not wrong. So it's year, month, and product. Year, month, and product. Order matters. Yes, but do not select like this. The names are a little bit different. Delete it. Simply double click on dimensions field.
Oh, yeah, sure. Okay.
And select it for me. Year num, month,
and product name, I guess.
Yes. Then, as a measure, you can have. I don't remember which one. Select one field like gross sales or COGS or whatever it is. Okay. Try to trigger a refresh now.
Save first or?
No, it's not necessary. Okay, click on information. Go under SQL so to see. Oh, we have data. Can you right click anywhere? And click on set dynamic rows. Okay, now go back in visual properties and we remove the month that was by column, not by row. So edit visual properties, remove month num. From okay. No, here, there, where you are. You see dynamic row fields, remove month number.
Yep.
Okay. Should work. Go to the template now. Click on the cell 01, the C2. Click on C2. Gross sales. We used the wrong measure.
Yeah.
Use COGS. You can right click on COGS. No, don't worry. You can. Okay, we can fix. We change the measure either in the formula or in the dataset. You can change it in the formula by typing there, for example. Okay, cool. Okay. Still not. so good because it's telling you that product is the number 3, month is number 2. No, but looks correct. Because it's 2024. No, look, everything looks correct now. But I don't see data. F sales, COGS, year number, 2023. So can you do me a favor? Can you right-click the first row of COGS and click on key for SQL? Okay. Because you use product name instead of product code, you need to go to SQL datasets now. And instead of product name, you put product code. Okay. And same thing in the dynamic rows. So go back in dynamic rows or change the name to code. You need to go from edit visual property.
Yeah. Okay. The product code.
Okay. If you save and go in play mode, it cannot work because we didn't change all the cells. So go back in the template. Okay. Now try to select all the cells from that one to the last one. Okay. You need to copy the formula that you have in D2 also to C2. Basically, that's what we need to do.
Oh, yeah.
Try to say you get a model cannot be saved. So an error with status code 400. This is strange. Can you try to save it again?
Okay.
Okay. So you had a network failure. So go in play mode. You should have the model working. So okay, cool. So what we will now do, it will be to set up a context parameter. So in edit mode, we go in the edit menu and go under context. Okay, everybody can do the same. And we fill this list. This is the list of parameters of this model. Right now it's empty. So the first section is panel, where it's like this is the group, it's like the folder of parameters that you want. So I call usually the first panel selections. So type selections as panel. The parameter, now we will use a parameter to filter. So we want to filter the year. So since the column of the year is called year underscore num, we call the parameter year underscore num. Label is a friendly name for the user of the parameter. So for example, year. Yes, okay. Then you select the type. There are several types here. So you can have a single select, a multiple selection, a number, a text, a switch, whatever. So depending on the type, you will have a different element to select. So in the single select, you have a drop down or a radio button to select only one element. In multiple select, you will have checkboxes. Number, it will be a box in which you input a number, or you can have a slider to put a number. In this case, we will use the single select switch.
Okay.
Yeah. Then values is the comma separated list of possible values of the year number. So in our case, we can type 2023, 2024, 2025. Values is when we hard code values and we don't take it from SQL. Later on, we will take them from SQL. We can set up a default value if we want. So so 2025, and this is done. The next fields are used only when we take values from SQL. So if you now save and go play mode, you will see that data has been filtered for only 1 year, 2025. You may change the context by clicking on the context button on top. Here you can change and data will be retrieved. What happened in the backend that a where clause has been plugged to all the queries that we did. Okay, cool. But I think we did this part. We are redoing this part from last time because it was the very end, but we went too fast here. So, okay, next step is to make the year dynamically taken from SQL. So let me move to my training instructions, context. So we created the year, etc. Okay. Okay. Now to make it dynamic, what should we do? Okay. There are two ways. Either we embed this report in Power BI and inherit the year from Power BI or Click or whatever. The second way is to take from the cache. So if you move to database from the left menu, and you take your connection string, okay, you will see that we created the key for the year. That is a view. Under views, the first view that you have, this is keys. This is showing the keys. Okay, the first view that you have, if you click on it, okay, you can see that data here is loaded from cache. It means that at some point in time, we clicked on update, and this will load the data into the cache. So if you click on update all, it will list all the views that we can cache. So we can load data directly in Key4. We cannot do it on any possible view. We can only do it to the views that refer to a table with only one primary key, because these lists are only used for these drop downs. So we are not taking like the fact tables and load it into Key4. It's only for small stuff. So if you go back with the back button to your model, just go back, okay, and go in edit mode, you already have all the ingredients to yeah, don't worry. You can filter only your models with okay.
Yeah, right. You showed us.
Okay. So here, if you go in edit context, here you can change the configuration of this to take it from the cache. How? First of all, you delete the values that you are coded that are not needed anymore. You select your connection string. You select the table to be the year, the underscore year. It's all capital, if I'm not wrong.
All capital, okay.
Then you select the code field that is year underscore num. If you don't want to show the codes, this is not mandatory, it's the description. So if you have another field for description, or whatever. Do we have name?
I thought we had, or I just guessed.
I don't know, I don't remember, because I don't do this every day, but the year, let me check. Yes, we do have, cool. So you can use it and the sorting. If you now save and go in play mode, you will see that the appearance of the context radio button changed. It should be a drop down now.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, we should have made it wider. And it takes all the years that you have in the database. So if you now you can have, this is not for year, it's not so useful, but imagine you have the list of products or the list of whatever. These will make the selection. We don't use often this technique because we prefer to inherit selections from Power BI or Click. But we use this technique when we need to make selections on some dimensions that are only in Key4. That is typically the scenario, the version, stuff that is not in the actuals, but it's in the budget, in the forecasting, in stuff like that. So usually you cache some lists that are made of 10, 20, 30 elements. The cache update can be also triggered from a Key4 object. So, for example, you are not forced to go to database all the time to refresh the cache. If you have a screen in which people are adding years, you can put a button to refresh the cache. We'll see it later on. And the value of the year 2025 can be retrieved into the spreadsheet. You're already doing it in the header, so total 2025, and you use the key for value, function. So if you go in edit mode to get that 2025, you're basically using the key for value. So if you go in edit template, okay, you can also use the value 2025 in any of the configuration cells that you have in the other tabs. But if you need to recall the value in any tab that is not the spreadsheet, the syntax is different. And for this, I will show you an example because it takes quite some time to configure. So let me share mine.
So this 2025 column that I have with K4 value year num, it will show the selected
year.
Okay.
In your case, you're using the context parameter into the spreadsheet. In this other case, I have some context parameters here and there, but I have this data type, billing and order, that is driving the type of date. So if showing figures for order date or billing date. I have two separate tables for billing dates and order data. So I'm triggering different queries depending on what I select. Look at the SQL. So as you can see, if you don't see, I zoom a little bit. Here I'm triggering the table customer billing time series. Okay, so there is billing. If I change to order, this refreshes the queries, etc. The table has been changed to order. How did I do this? I set up a context parameter that has only two values, that has order and billing. Let me zoom in a little bit. And I call it DT, date type. Then, when I configure my SQL datasets, I didn't use the name of the table itself, but I put the name of the parameter inside the angular parentheses. This way, I managed to drive different tables according to a parameter, to a selection, to whatever. These can be useful sometimes, not all the times, but there are cases in which you might want to drive either the dimensions or the measure or the table itself like this from a parameter. And if you want to use in the configuration, you use it like this. While you use the key for value inside the spreadsheet. Okay, so outside the spreadsheet, we use the angular parentheses. Inside the spreadsheet, we use the key for value. I'm also using the key for value here to create the headers, order or billing. So I'm using it in both. The same parameter dt here is retrieved with a key for value dt. Okay, cool. So we use for configuration, we use the spreadsheet. So let's go back to, sorry, let's go back to our example. I have so many examples here. Training evaluation, static spreadsheet.
Filtering only those that you created will not help you, right?
No, and the folders are on their way of development yet. So I need to evaluate. So again, there we go. So this is the spreadsheet we created last time. At least the browser is helping me. So last time we created.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When there's an update to the K4 Studio, like when you create the folder thing, should we update our K4 Studio too, or will it be automatically?
No, you are on-prem, so you need to update it manually. Okay. In the cloud, it can be automatic, but we tend to ask all the time to people, you know. You know, probably you have a live customer doing the budget. It's not the greatest of the ideas to change the version while they're doing it. So last time we created this, and what I wanted to point out here is that the key for value that we used to read a parameter from the cache can read a parameter from the context, can also read, let me zoom in a little bit, the browser itself. So tell me, oh, finally. No, I'm exaggerating. Okay. Sorry guys, but I know I have a big screen, so people complain sometimes that it's hard to read. So the key for value can read either a parameter from the cache, or it can also read data from dataset with the same syntax of the key for SQL. So if you want to refer to a value that is taken from the context or from another dataset, you cannot use a key for SQL pointing to a cell that contains a key for SQL, but you can point to a cell that contains a key for value, because key for will first execute all the key for values and then the key for SQL. Okay, so in this case, I use the value of the key for value to detect if it's a new year or a past year. In case it's a past year, I put a -1 year, and in that case, I lock the cells. This is what we did last time. Sorry guys, I started from a spot that we already had. So if I'm in 2025, I'm able to change the values of the cells. If I switch to 2024, the color will change because these cells are locked. So we can drive whatever scenario is open or closed. We can drive with the context, whatever we want. It's parameters, it's filters, it's everything. So, where is key for training? Moving forward, we did the lock by year. We need to go through the launchpad. We can also execute store procedures. So sometimes it's not enough to write data with data entry. You also need to trigger store procedure. For example, because you want to call an external API like the one from SAP Connector Unio from Theobald, probably because you want to copy the data from a scenario to another. So many times you want to initialize budget, you want to initialize actuals, you want to do stuff like that. So you write a store procedure in SQL, or you ask ChatGPT to do it for you. That is the way everybody prefers today. And you trigger it from Key4. So there are some conditions to be matched in order to be able to run a store procedure. So the conditions are: the store procedure name needs to start with key4 underscore. Okay. There must be a parameter at the end of the store procedure named key4 user of type text that it can be used for logging, but we make it mandatory. The user in the connection string needs to have exact grants on the procedure. So now we will create a procedure to copy data from a scenario to another scenario, and we will put this procedure into one of our model. We will use the master table for that. So first of all, are you ready with the management studio and everything? Okay. So first of all, I take in the training material, you should have a query that is under the text I don't remember what it is. Script create. The procedure is I have something else in the procedure. Oh, there you go. Okay, so we go in Management Studio and we create a procedure with the code that you find there. Close this. So I open my Key4 training and I go under programmability, store procedure, and I create one. Or probably I already have it. No, it's okay. So this procedure is named key4 underscore copy. It has three possible parameters. So year, scenario, and the key4 user that is mandatory. And what it is doing is to delete whatever is in the target scenario and the year, and then insert from the fact table the same data from the scenario actual to the target year that we decided. So we run this query, and this will generate a procedure.
In which text file do I find this procedure? Ah, it's procedure text. Okay.
Okay, what is key4 training?
Can you maybe paste it into the chat, Moritz?
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I can do it. Don't worry.
Also, yeah, thank you.
Ah, we did. Okay. This is the procedure. Then we need to ensure that the user that we are using in the connection string, so my user is named key4 probably, is able to run this procedure. So to do this, we need to do grant exec on key4 underscore copy to the user key4. This way, the user that I have in the connection string, so my one is key4, I don't know which one is your one, will be able to run the procedure. So there, if you want, I can copy also this query, but it's in the files. Instead of key4, you should use the same user that you have in connection string, that I don't know which one is that. But it's basically the one used to connect to the database. So once we create the procedure is on the database. So whenever
can you show me once more where I can find the users that I have in the database?
The users that you created, honestly, it's usually in connection. So my connection string is key4 training evaco. And the user that I'm using is named key4, is the user ID you have here.
Yeah.
So settings, connections, check the connection string, check the user that you have here.
Okay, yeah.
Demo user, right?
Yeah, it's K4_demo user. Should be the same for you. It's I pasted it in the chat. Okay, so grant exec on K4 copy to K4 demo user. Okay, I get an error when I...
You cannot grant because this guy is already the owner, probably. So
yeah,
it's probably unnecessary. Okay.
Okay.
So in this case, it's not necessary. Okay, cool. Okay, so in my case, the user key4 that I'm using is not a DB owner, so I need to grant the execution. But if you have a DB owner, of course, they are must and command. So what we can do, evaco, we can take our model with the master table, that was this one, and put the procedure in our launchpad. So open your first master table, tell me when you're done. Oh no, sorry, before I got interrupted, before we need to go to the database and make key4 aware that there is a new procedure. So we open the database and we click on sync. You will see that if everything is correct, you will see the store procedure here. So key4 copy with here scenario and key4 user should appear at the bottom of your screen. Okay. So going back to the model, we switch to edit mode. And from the edit menu this time, we will go to the last of the icons, that is Launchpad. Okay. It's another list. This list is basically the list of procedures. So first of all, we give a friendly name to the procedure, and I use copy from actuals.
I have a problem.
Yes.
Because my backend is just loading. Please wait. Maybe I can share.
Yes, please.
So
it loaded.
Which one shall I select?
The first one.
Okay, this one's working, but the dynamic, it was just
probably we made a change to the database that corrupted all the dynamic ones that we created before. So that's why we recreated with Moritz. I don't know what did we do last time that destroyed the dynamic one. Probably it was some sort of experiment, but we will restart from this one. I think we won't need to re-enter the dynamic one during this training anymore, but in case we can copy Moritz one to other connection strings. So I'll take the share again. And we are into the Launchpad. So we give a friendly name to the procedure, copy from actuals. We select the connection string. Optionally, we select the schema. If you don't select the schema, it will take the one that you used during the sync. That is, in my case, DBO. I do not have other schemas. And here, we can configure the parameters. Now, as I told you before, if you put in Angular parentheses a parameter, it will take it from the context. So when you select the store procedure, we give a hint to say, do you want to take the parameters from the context? So we already pre-populate with Angular parentheses. So let's move to the context and let's create two parameters that the users can use to decide which scenario to populate with which data, etc., etc. So I will create another one in selections. The parameter will be called year underscore num with label year of type single select with values 2023, 2024, 2025, and the default on 2025. Then I will create a second parameter for the target scenario, but instead of using it for filtering, we will use it only to drive the procedure. So as a plain, I will put procedure. The parameter will be called target scenario. I usually use short names because I'm lazy, but if you want to be extended, feel free. And I will call it target scenario of type single select. In the apply to, instead of applying to context, so to the filters, this time we select Launchpad. So this parameter won't be used for filtering or for whatever. It will only be used into the Launchpad. As values, we will put budget, forecast, and that's it. Default budget. I can also avoid the default. I save. When I go into Launchpad, now I will populate what I left behind with year underscore num. And target scenario, since I didn't apply to Launchpad, there is a slightly different syntax to put it here, is question mark TS. The question mark means that this is a prompt to the user. And I will show you what does this mean. Then we can set up a confirmation request like are you sure? Is mandatory, otherwise the procedure runs directly. The return parameter, you can put in a context whatever SQL comes back as a return parameter, but we won't do it. This table cache, if you select a table like the year that is cacheable, and you want to refresh the cache on the press of the button, you type the name of the table you want to refresh in this field. So that's why I told you, if you have a procedure that updates the number of scenarios or stuff, you can create a button to refresh. Then you have simply some style and color options. So primary, the color, you can set a tooltip, click to copy the scenario, whatever. Once I save and I go play mode, now the icon Launchpad is clickable, and I have this copy from actuals. As you can see, the year context parameter is still on the left and filters data. So depending on what I select, the year is 2023, 2024, 2025. When I hit budget or forecast, this is not filtering, because this is a parameter that I use only to drive the procedure. If I group that by scenario here, I have 1900 records in the scenario actual. As soon as I execute the procedure, and I do a refresh, the records have been copied to budget, okay, for the year 2025. If I go to 2024, budget is not there. But I can create on 2024, I don't know, forecast. I have 2,900 records. I do execute. I do a refresh. Disappear. If you want to avoid the extra refresh, you can set the auto refresh to on. In this case, when you trigger a procedure, so here I have actual and forecast, I execute for budget, it will automatically refresh with no need of doing the extra button. This is very powerful because you can drive the procedures, you can do whatever you want. Pay attention that there is also this active, okay, that decide if the button is visible or not. Many times you want to have this dynamic being on or off depending on the parameter, and the parameter can be taken from the context. So probably the administrator can do something, the final user cannot, or if you have submission procedures, you want them to show only to a given role, or stuff like that.
Can I share my screen? I just couldn't follow one step. How do I see the different scenarios in this window, like the ones that you saw?
Audio group.
So you have
you take the column scenario code, the header of the column, and you drag it on the top.
Okay, now I see the. Okay. Okay.
This is only visualization. Is a table that.
Okay, and that's the. Okay, I copied all the data from actual to budget, and if I would do forecast, it would appear.
Yes, if you have the auto refresh, yes.
Okay, I don't have the auto refresh, but okay, got it. But this does not, like the selection on the left of the context does not apply to the actuals. Oh yes, it does. Let me see. Okay, so I only copied 2025.
Yes, because the one on the left has a double meaning. Is both passed to the procedure and filtering data, okay? While the one on the right is only passed to the procedure, but is not filtering data. This is the difference if you open the context in the two types of parameters that are applied to context, applied to Launchpad. I don't want to filter the scenario before running. I want to see both. That's why I created this small example.
Okay.
Any questions on procedures?
Yeah, maybe one more. What you told about the active button. So like, can I control for whom it is active and for whom it's not? How would I do that?
Okay. Remember that if you have a role linked to the username that you are inheriting from Qlik, from Power BI, from Tableau, or from whatever you want, you can then decide, for example, to create a formula around the role. So you do if role equals, and you take role within the angular parentheses, and you say if role equals to admin, then on, otherwise off. So you use Excel syntax there, because the cells that you use for configuration are Excels, basically. So you can type an Excel formula.
Okay, and if I choose on or on or off, or active or inactive, doesn't really matter then.
Let's do it now. So go in edit mode and let's create a parameter to drive this. So we will make it simple without the formula, but go under context and create under selections or settings, whatever you want, call the panel, whatever you want, call it activate procedure. Well, probably this is the friendly name for the parameter. We are lazy, you know, or call it whatever you want.
No,
okay.
Like this.
Okay. Of type, the type that we will use this time is switch. Or put a single select. It's easier, so we select directly on or off without doing formula. Put as values on and off. Okay, default on. So go back in the launchpad. And inactive, instead of on, put in angular parentheses the AP.
Yeah, okay.
Cool.
Yeah, okay, now I get it. I was just confused because this is like a single select field. I didn't know I could just write my own parameters in here.
We suggest the possible values of output, but you can override. So if you save, if you go play mode and you play with the switch, it should activate or deactivate depending on what. So open the context.
I didn't
why
save.
I don't see sexy? But go in. I don't know. Go in edit. Probably we didn't save. No, we didn't save.
Yeah.
Okay, but that was the technique.
Okay.
Okay, if you want to, you can do it. Just to try it.
Yep.
Type is single select.
So now I save.
Okay, we witnessed the save this time. So context settings on off. If you click on off, oh no, it's not activating. Yes, I did a mistake.
Yep.
I forgot one thing. So go in edit mode.
But if I click on, then it works, and off.
Okay.
Doesn't work.
Of course. No, this is correct. It doesn't work because if it's on off, if you don't have at least one procedure active, it won't show. But if you put multiple procedure, it won't deactivate the full button, but only the section. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Cool. So any other question about this? Remember that the context can be checked. So let me share my screen again. So your on or off, your role, your selection can always be checked from here, from the information box. There is context that tells you all the possible, all the parameters with their current value. Okay, so when I change these, refresh, these comes to forecast. These one are the context values that we created. The one that you see at the top, those are some default context values that you can use. So you always have the current user. So you always have the current model. So you always have the OS measures, etc. The current user, it's very handy because if I have a column in my dataset that is named key4_current user, it will filter only the rows that contain antonio.speca@key4analytics.com. So if you want Antonio to access only the product number 1, you can create an extra column in the product table saying Antonio product number 1, and you give the current user. So Antonio will be filtered only on product number 1. Because remember that whatever context parameter, default or not, that matches one of the column, it will plug the where clause when you retrieve the query. So if in the key for view fsales I create a key for underscore current user, you can use it to filter it according to the username. Yeah, it can be an option. So procedures, so let's go back to the training. So we created this example. We also did some appearance. So we go to the visual properties. So we're almost there, guys. So I don't think we will use all the time that we booked this morning. So cool. We can go and take a drink later on. So visual properties is another section of our models that we should configure. You don't find many visual properties in the master table, but you find usually in the spreadsheet views. What is important to know about these visual properties panel? Let's see. So the visual properties are used to change the appearance of the template you create. So in the template tab, you create a template. When you go to play mode, there are some changes. The changes are according to what you do in visual properties. So whatever visual property you create, in edit mode, you won't see it. Definitely, you won't see the change in edit mode. One of the visual properties that we have seen now is the dynamic rows. In fact, when you are in edit mode, dynamic rows are not applied. You only have one row and a placeholder. When you go play mode, this is applied. There are also other properties. So let's see the main one. So we will see all of them. The layout recalc is a feature that calculates all the fields in which you have Excel formula when you change data, when you change a context, etc. So in your case, if instead of typing, for example, activate procedure with angular parentheses, you created the complex formula like if AP is equal to on, then do this, otherwise do that. To activate the recalculation of formula on all the gray cells, so the configuration one, you need to set the layout recalc to on. While sync only is the opposite, is a property that you use to only retrieve data when hitting refresh and nothing else. Here you select the template. So as we saw before, sometimes it's handy to recycle a template that you already have, and you have the list of all the templates in the template section here. So these can be handy if you say, okay, I'm working on a template with different colors, stuff, or whatever, and at a given point I want to switch it to the new version. I create multiple versions of the template, so you can change it. If the template has multiple worksheets, you can tell which one is the active one. It's important to know that you can have multiple worksheets in a single template, but only one worksheet per time can use the formulas key for get, key for SQL, key for value. You cannot retrieve data on multiple templates yet. So what does this mean? That if I go here in the template and I create a second sheet, I can use it to do this equals to this thing or whatever. I can use it to do stuff like that, but I cannot do this. If I do this, this thing won't be calculated, okay? So you can have only one template containing the formula. The other ones can be used for extra reporting, calculation, VLOOKUPs, or to host raw dataset data. We'll see it later on. So dynamic raw fields is what we have seen before. You can take dynamic raw fields like we did from a SQL view with the syntax table, column, name of the fields, or you can select a dataset. So if I want to take the rows from a dataset, I just give, I have a dataset named fsales. Oh, sorry, I clicked the wrong back button. I have a dataset named fsales. If I want to take the rows from the dataset itself, I can do this using fsales. So it will put the dataset into square parentheses, and this is the syntax to take it from there. Then you have the sorting of dynamic rows. So if you have multiple fields of dynamic rows, let me put back my dataset, otherwise I cannot show you this. You can select ascending and descending for each of the rows. Dynamic row filtering, this is the equivalent of putting some filters on top of your table. So I will show you an example like this ones. So the dynamic row filters, when you have a report with dynamic rows, you can activate these to automatically put some filtering on the top columns. The filters will start from the first key for team, and they will stop as soon as they find an empty cell. So in my case, I will have filters from this column to this one. So this puts the filters, and I can then do this or stuff like that. So this filter is different from the context, because while the context puts a where clause in the queries, this won't re-execute the query. It's only an Excel filtering that filters out the rows. This is the dynamic columns. Similarly to dynamic rows, you can also select a field to put to create dynamic columns, like the month, the year, whatever you need. Nothing special. I send you to the manual to see how to do this. Named cell is an old property from the previous version that we are trying to deprecate, and it's only about named cell and aliases is something we are trying to deprecate. So I suggest you to ignore that, while the hide rows and columns are very important. So this property is one of the most important visual properties that we have. So at load, if I set these hide rows based on first column and hide columns based on first row to at load, when I go into the template, I can decide to add a row and a column, so A and 1, that will be reserved from key 4 to decide which cell to show or hide. How? If in the cell you type hide, okay, when you save and go play mode, you will see that 2023 disappeared, and also number 4 and number 5. For some reason I didn't have data, but why did this happen? Because with the setting that I just did, there is this reserved word that we can use to hide or show columns. This can be also the result of a formula, like if I don't know, this one, if this thing is, I don't know, greater than 900 millions, then hide, otherwise, I don't know, show. Okay. Is greater than the 9 million. Okay, so I will put something less. So I save. Okay. I need to remove the dynamic rows, otherwise this thing will keep throwing me errors. Okay, go in play mode. Now this thing is showing because this is greater than 9 million. But if I put like 8 millions, this is not hiding yet. But after saving and refreshing,
you have to make it greater than 9 million. You had it the other way. Yeah. I
did it the other way, 10 million. Thank you. You were paying attention, not like me. This will disappear. Because when loading, it checks the value, and this is what it will do. Now, we can change the setting instead of at load to automatic recalc. If you set it to automatic recalc, it will behave differently. So let me refresh. So greater than, I will put 20 millions, so it will show again. So if I set it to automatic recalc, it will hide even before saving. No, it should. No, it was greater than 20 million, so I need to put 21 millions. Even before saving, it will recalculate. So one setting is when loading. The other setting is whatever you do. So can come handy if you want to create some switches, etc. This is a very important feature. And when this is active, one other feature that is in the manual, but you don't need to have anything else here, activates. The other feature that I want to show you is validation rules. So if you don't want, for example, user to save based on a condition, so equals sum of, I don't want to have, let's say, numbers that are less than 0. So I do equals minimum of all of these. So I have this cell here that is like this. And I do a check if this thing is less than 0, then I put a string starting with exclamation mark. You cannot save a negative number. Otherwise, okay, there. Save. Once I do this, and I activate this feature in which I reserve the first row and column, then I can generate something like this. So if I put a -1 here and I try to save, you get this, you cannot save a negative number.
But all of the validation rules I want to apply would have to be in the cell on the top left, but I can add multiple validation rules.
What I do usually is, let's assume I want to validate row by row. Okay. Said okay, but I need to put empty. Let's assume I want to validate row by row. What I do usually is that I put a condition here. So if this is greater than, I don't know, 10 millions or whatever, then 1, then 0. What I do is to copy this over, and then I do like sum of all of these. And these will be like the summary of all, because as soon as one of these is not coherent, and then I do my test only on this one and probably this one, and that's it. Plus I put some conditional formatting around so that is coherent with the validation rule, and I set it to red, and I get what you're asking for, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So let me
and then I would probably hide it. I would hide column P.
Of course.
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
I will put a hide here, and I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This, in my opinion, is one of the most used feature around, because hiding and showing is very important. I usually set it at load because the automatic recalc is tricky, very tricky. Sometimes you do a data entry and you see things appearing and disappearing. In my opinion, the best practice is to keep it at load, is the simplest, etc. Okay, some options, very easy. Load message. While loading data, if you have a big query, you can customize the loading message. By default is loading, please wait. You can say something different. Loading, please don't wait. You know, whatever you want. Refresh on save, you can decide to trigger a refresh after data entry or not. So depend on how your user used to work. Now it's on off, so even if I save the data entry, you will see that it's not refreshing the screen like this. It's not re-executing the query. But if you want, let's assume that you have multiple data sets that are connected to each other via views, etc. You want that after saved, everything is recalculated. You put a refresh on save. Show condition here, depending on a parameter in the context, you can decide to hide the entire default object or to show it, so it will disappear completely. This is used when we embed in Power BI. You can put this condition either here, the formula, or in a sheet. So you create a worksheet where you have this show condition. Not very used. Grid disconnected at load. This is an important setting. The grid disconnection is the, let's go to the other model, because otherwise I don't have context here. Let's go to dynamic aggregated dimension evaco, dynamic evaco, this one. Okay. Okay, let's assume your query is very big. So the spreadsheet is big, it takes quite some time to execute. And let's assume you want to change multiple parameters. As you can see, as soon as I change a parameter in the context, it triggers a refresh. If I have only one, this is the desired behavior. But let's assume, just like I opened before something with multiple parameters in the context, like this one. Let's assume you have multiple parameters and the screen is kind of slow. So I need to select here, and it takes some time, etc. I don't want to wait for each selection. So I disconnect the grid, I do all the selections, and then I reconnect the grid, and this will trigger only one refresh. Okay? The setting we are talking about is to decide at the first opening if it's already connected or disconnected. So you want the user to already see the data. So let's assume that without filter you have 100,000 rows, and this can take a lot to execute. You might choose to disconnect the grid at load and wait for the user to reconnect it so that they can perform the filters before refreshing. Whether you can decide what to write there, by default it's written grid disconnected, click anywhere to refresh. You can put better instructions like please filter here and cost center before clicking here. The treat nulls is how to handle empty cells. So for example, here the empty cells are shown as nulls. You can decide to show them as zeros. Is really a small option. Calendar years, this is to limit the calendars when you have a date field to say don't go until the 17th century. Probably you want years to be within 2025 and 2026. The default zoom. The default zoom is something you set when you embed usually. These high dimension repeated values is a setting that if you're not a designer, when you have multiple dimensions, by the way, you have seen that is gray. So this is static. If I let me take this dynamic, you can see that this is not being this thing is being repeated all the time with a gray button. This is done mainly for developers. If you don't want to see these visual properties is done option, sorry, it was in I dimension the repeated values. It's on. So if I'm not a designer, a developer, and I set also this one to off, these will make the report a little bit nicer. So you have 2025 that is hidden until it changes. So you don't need to repeat it all the time. It's a small setting that you can use. I'm not going to explain what is an horizontal and vertical scroll, but okay, cell color, of course. These are the colors of the cells that are in data entry, the one that are locked, and the one that are changed. Okay, so you have seen that when you change a cell, you can pick one of the colors from this color picker. It will put the hexadecimal, and I managed to select the only one that I couldn't select that is the same as this. Cool. Let's go to the tabs, because as I told you before, tabs can be used with the limitation I told. I cannot use the tabs to use the key for formula. But if I display the tab strip, for example, at the top, I can put in the tab, for example, a dataset. So the dataset F sales. So if I go now in the template and I create a new tab named dataset underscore F underscore sales, when I will go in play mode, the raw dataset will be here. So with month, year, gross sales, and also the concatenation of all the dimensions. This can be handy if you need to do data validations, VLOOKUPs, whatever you need to do, because you hide this dataset somewhere and do whatever you need to do. Okay, then let's go back to our visual properties. Here, of course, you have some displays, so the width, the names of the tabs, etc. Here is where you set the freeze panes, so frozen rows, how many rows you want to freeze. The header, this one is important, is the one that shows you these things here. So you might want to show these row line, etc. because maybe you want to give the user the opportunity to resize the columns and do stuff like that. We were in rows. You can do it on each of the tab. You can decide to hide some rows depending on the number. So hide the row number 3. It's another way to hide the rows. Or you can decide to hide the rows that do not have any data in it, so the empty rows. Outlining. Outlining, I tell you, there is a guide on the user manual to do subtotals with outlining. You need to follow that guide to use it. I will show you the final result of an outlining. Let's see. Let me go on keyboard demo. That is better. Okay, outlining. I have it here. So the outlining is a property that we use to create dynamic groupings. So right now, when I showed you dynamic models, they were always flat somehow. You can also create with expansion levels, like this one, and with the subtotal of the group. So in this case, I have city and product category, and then this creates all the subtotals, the totals, etc. Cool part is that you can also write the subtotals. You can also lock some numbers and change the total, or even lock a total and change a number, and it will recalculate siblings. So with this technique, to do this, basically is not very straightforward. Unluckily, I inherited this setting from the previous version, so we didn't have time to improve the configuration of this, but I will give you a glimpse on how to do that. So basically, when I have key for dim1, key for dim2, to activate the outlining, I need to create on top of the key for dim1 and the dim2 these two formulae, key for start subtotals, key for end subtotals. And then I need to leave at least 4 empty columns to the right of the last dimension. After the empty columns, I can start putting the key for sub formula here. Once I do this, I go in the visual properties and I activate the outlining by setting to on this outline column. This way, the template will be shown as some set of groups when going in play mode. So I cannot. This is dynamic. In fact, if I I cannot change the context here. This is dynamic and takes, of course, the rows and the columns that do exist. If you need some help in this outlining, I also have a video that explains step by step how to configure it.
Where can I find the video?
I need to share with you. I did it yesterday.
Oh, okay.
For another partner. So it's on my local machine. It's in downloads. In this moment, it's in my downloads folder.
Of course. Where else?
Because I did it in screen sharing with one of my partners, and I saved it. So, but on the manual, you have all the steps described one by one. The section of the manual is subtotal with outlining. Okay, columns, you have the same options, but for the columns. Toolbar. The toolbar is this thing here on top. So where you have save, refresh, export, etc., etc. With these settings, you can decide to display or hide the toolbar, to show the undo mode. This is very handy. And to decide which icons of the toolbar we want to show or hide. So if you don't like the grid disconnected, you can hide the grid by typing here disconnected. This is a comma separated list. You find the various names of the icons as well on the manual. The undo is very cool because when you do multiple changes, then you can come back to a given point in time using this menu here of undo and redo. Development option. This is the designer that decides to show or hide the info button. You tell me, why would I hide the information button? Because probably the end user doesn't need to see all the data that you retrieve, or you don't want them to check the query or stuff like that. So you can turn off the designer mode. That is this info button. Audit trails is a feature that was in the previous version that we didn't bring yet. It's in the roadmap for next year to bring it back also in the current version. But that's why we didn't remove the setting. It's still there. It's only to say, okay, we will do it. This will create like a history of each of the records. Okay. Questions so far on visual properties? Okay, no. Cool. There are a lot. You will see, honestly, I tell you, you will use this one a lot, zoom, and sometimes the outlining, dynamic rows. For the other ones, honestly, is not so common that you find yourself in, I need to use that. Now, one other thing that I wanted to tell you is you have seen that I used the lock and spread. To activate the lock, spread, and stuff like that, you need to turn on for that specific measure this thing that is called smart data entry. It's under any measure, under the editable options, you find the smart data entry. So here, I send you to the manual because this is a little bit advanced when you want to copy, default, allocate by another column, etc. I think it deserves a training by itself. It's in the advanced module. But since you have seen the lock, spread, etc., and I didn't show you how to configure, you simply need to turn on this smart data entry. And you will have all the lock, unlock, yes, of course, appearing on top. So you can write data also on the sums. So you can unlock also the sums. So in this case, if you have a formula that is a sum or a subtotal, you can decide to use it for data entry. But remember, I told you last time, but this is something I personally always forget, so I imagine a partner. So remember that to make a cell editable, you need to go under format cell and remove the protection. We remove it automatically on the key for formula that are not locked. But if you want to use a sum also for data entry, you need to remove the locked from the protection.
How does does smart data entry have anything to do with the way the values are spread out from a total to the yes. Individual? Okay, so it's more than just an Excel formula. It's something I can.
Smart data entry. Basically, I will show you. You activate it from here. So now I set it to on. You can also decide to copy from another measure or a relative reference, so like the next row that has a special syntax, stuff like that. So copy from relative references. These you can put a default value, stuff like that. And when you are, let me refresh. When you have the smart data entry, the lock and unlock will appear. Okay. You can still, even without smart data entry, you can type on the formula, like on the sums. So this you can do it with or without smart data entry. What you cannot do is the lock unlock and to open the panel of smart data entry. So for example, I can decide to set the total of the selected cells here. Right now the total is this something. I can set the total to whatever I want. When I do the play, this changes the cell that I selected by proportionally allocate whatever I selected. I can also decide to set a fixed value, so like I set 100 on the selected cells, or I can copy from, I did a relative reference, so in this case from the next row. Oh, it's not working because I didn't put R1 but only R, sorry. Where? R1. Okay. So you can decide to copy from another measure or from the next row, the previous row, stuff like that. Let me see if I can do this. Copy from R1 multiplied by 1. No, this is the previous row. Probably need to do it here. Never mind. I need to read the manual myself because I don't remember what is the syntax for this. But basically, this allows you to copy from another cell, another measure, and stuff like that. I can check in the manual how to do that.
Okay, and if I want to control the way the total is spread amongst the columns, I would have to like reference an extra data set.
An extra, yes, you need to reference an extra data set or extra cells, because remember that these spreads according to what is there, and this is the default behavior unless it's locked. So the default behavior, whatever is locked is kept, whatever else is spread proportionally.
Mm-hmm.
If you want a different behavior, either you need to do a copy from or an allocate by. It's in the manual. I'm not very good in configuring the smart data entry, honestly, because I use the copy from only twice in my life. But let me see. How does it work? Okay. So smart data entry should be essential smart data entry. Since our CTO calls everything smart, okay, there we go.
Instead of AI, it's smart.
Yes. We call everything smart. Whatever. We do upload, smart upload. We are not the best with fantasy in names, but we don't put our. So basically, you can copy from another data set or a driver field. Copy fields, copy from, no, the reference with, okay, smart data entry, cells action, copy actions. Okay. No, you don't have the relative reference with, you need to copy from another data set here. You cannot copy from a different row or column. Okay, so I was using the syntax that is not the one that should be used. Okay, sorry. Okay, so since I have only one data set, in that case, it's not really working. So smart data entry, then let's go back to our training, because next thing to show you is the drill. So let me go back to my key for demo. We can also drill to a different model. So as you can see here, I have my P&L. So I have my income, cost, whatever. This number is an aggregation. If I click here, I can decide to drill. For example, I say I drill by store, and this will show me the list of all the stores, and the number is the same. What happened? Basically, when you drill from a cell, so you right-click a cell, the coordinates of the cell will be put into the context of the model that you use in drill. So there is a model that is called drill_any, and I'm accessing this from the drill. And in this model, in the context, I have some coordinates like the year, the account key, etc., etc. So if I go back here and I drill these 39 millions again by store, you will see that I have the same report, but the total is now 39 millions because the context changed and I have a different account key. So if I select multiple cells like this way in the drill by store, I have the sum of the two, and in the context I will have two account keys, 4 and 5. I can configure different models in the drill. So in the human capital, I can also drill by employee, and I go in a complete different screen. So in this case, I have the list of all the employees with the pictures, etc. And without any other selection. So okay. So with the drill, I can go here with a different view. So how do I configure a drill? So basically, I first need to have a target model. So I have a target model on which I want to drill that is usually simpler than the one I'm drilling to. Then what I do is to go with my edit menu, this time in the section Smart Drill, because even the drill is smart. So here, to configure a drill, I simply need to select the target model that I want to have, give it a label that is the one that is shown in the menu. I can decide to force some extra context parameter. So if I don't have the parameter in the cell, but I have it somewhere else, I can decide it to force it by forcing it from here. In this case, the model that is called drill_any has a parameter that decides which entity to put by row. So depending on I'm drilling to the same model in 3 different ways. And then I use this par row in the dynamic row fields to decide what to put by row. And we can also decide where to show or hide this drill. So for example, in this case, I go to the employee details only if I have this parameter in the selection. That is a parameter that is telling me that that specific account has the employee details. Other account do not have that specific employee detail. So once I do this, basically, I see the same actions here in the drill, and I can select, as I did before, to drill by store, once I drill by store, I can, I don't know, keep on going and drill these 3 stores for these months by product category. And these, as you can see, the months has been filtered out and the data is the same of the stores that I drilled. I can keep drilling as many times as I want, assuming that the model has enough drills, so I can drill by region. I will have only one region because I'm in the United States and keep on going. So drill is very trivial. So I let you decide. Do you want a 10 minutes break and then we do the embed into Power BI, or we complete it? It will take like 30 minutes.
I would prefer a break.
Okay. See you in 10 minutes then.
Okay, see you.
You.
Okay. Let me know when.
I'm back. I cannot hear you yet.
Let's wait for everybody.
Yeah.
We're waiting Julian, Luis, Dana ran away. She's in Mexico now already.
Is it the only country that is safe from K4?
No, we have one in Mexico.
Do you have the this chat function in the new version, or is it not
The
available yet?
conversation.
Yeah,
Not
conversation. Yeah. Okay, but you
Not
want
yet.
to do it?
We are deciding because it's used only in demo, basically. Not
Okay,
many
so
people,
customers don't really use it?
no, because honestly, if you want to chat, you use Teams. But if you tell me many customers want it, we can prioritize it. Right now, we have found that it was not so used. So,
Mhm.
but